Okay, this is the very first one here. I'm going to talk about the futures market, and I'm just basically trying to introduce the idea of these futures contracts and how these things work. Just give you a big overview. So I'll give you some understanding of how this works. So I'm just going to jump right in here. We're talking about futures contracts. I've got an example from agricultural markets. That's where these things started. And it's kind of the most obvious example of how these work. So I've got a farmer here who's getting ready to, you can imagine it's in the early spring and he's getting ready to plant his crop. And, he needs a lot of things here now. Fertilizer, seeds, fuel, all that kind of stuff. The point is he needs to make a lot of investments early on. And he needs to make these investments sometime, I would say, I don't know the agricultural time period, but probably about 6 months or so before he harvests and sells the crop. So he's going to make all these investments up front and then wait and see what price he can get for his crop at the end. Right? And the price that he's going to get for the crop is uncertain, and that's a lot of risk for the farmer. So he has to put a lot of investment up front, and he doesn't know what the price is going to be in the future. Right? And that causes problems for the farmer. There's a lot of risk there. You have the same thing from the other side. I'm using the example of corn here, let's say, and Frito-Lay is going to buy the corn. Well, they have a lot of planning and things that they do up front, and they're trying to make all these plans, but they don't know what the price of corn is going to be either 6 months from now when they have to go out and purchase corn from the harvest. So they also have that uncertainty and that risk of what could the corn prices do. We have to make some decisions today about our production, but we don't know what we're going to have to pay for our raw material. Okay, and so you can imagine that the easiest way around this is that these two parties get together and they agree. Okay, look, we'll exchange this product in the future for a certain price. I've got the example here. They agree that they'll exchange. The farmer will sell Frito-Lay 10,000 bushels on November 15th for $5 a bushel. All right, that would be a futures contract. Okay, now this one, I imagine that the original futures contracts were set up this way. However, when all it is an agreement between two parties, you have a lot of problems there. And they did have these problems in the market, what they call counterparty risk. And that is the risk that the other side's not going to live up to what they're supposed to, their obligation, right? So you can imagine that if the price of corn is well above $5 a bushel, it goes up to $10 or $15 a bushel, well, then this farmer has a lot of incentive not to fulfill his side of the bargain. And, maybe he wants to do the honorable thing, but you have to say, if all you have is a written contract, a handshake agreement or something like that, then he's got an awful lot of incentive not to fulfill his side of the bargain. Okay, and the same thing with the seller. If the price, or the purchaser, if the price drops a lot, then they have a lot of incentive not to live up to their side of the bargain. So also you can have the problem of if the farmer's crop doesn't make it for whatever reason, he doesn't have a good harvest and he cannot deliver that corn, well, then, this person, the purchaser, is left holding the bag. Okay, so the original contract set up this way as contracts between two parties had a lot of what they call counterparty risk, a lot of problems that came up because of that. And so as a result, these moved to the clearinghouse, the futures markets. And what they did was they said, okay, look, we're going to standardize these and we're going to set up certain parameters and a certain way these things are done that's going to pretty much eliminate the counterparty risk, right? So we're going to set it up and try to take care of things so that both sides pretty much have to live up to their obligations, right? For most futures contracts, it's done through the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, I believe it's called. And they're just a big central clearinghouse, and they guarantee that the two parties will perform, and it makes it simpler for both parties to get into these positions and to unwind their positions at the end. All right, so they kind of stand in the middle there, and they set up a process here that makes this work a lot better. Okay, so I have them here in the middle. And what's going to happen now is that they have these standard contracts. CME has these standard contracts, and I've made the details up here. I don't know that corn actually works this way, but it's kind of how it works. All right. Each contract, say, is for 10,000 bushels of corn. They have set expiration dates that they expire, and then they have what's called margin requirements. All right. And so if you want to sell, you go short a contract. That short means you're willing to, or you are agreeing to sell at this price. And then if you want to purchase, you go long a contract. That means you're agreeing to purchase at this price. Right? So short is sell, long is purchase. Okay, and then we have these margin requirements. This is sort of the key to the whole thing. The Mercantile Exchange has studied these contracts, and they know how much the price can move in over a reasonable outcome here. And what they do is they require you to put up enough margin so that they know you're always going to have cash in there. And no matter how the price moves, you're going to have enough in there to cover your position. Right? So I'll give you an example of how that works. In this case, the initial margin requirement is 10%. And so 10% of the value of the contract you have to deposit. So if the farmer goes short one contract, he can say, I want to take a short position. They're going to say, fine, deposit $5,000 into your account here, and we'll open your position. And the same thing for the person going long. They have to deposit that money into their margin account. Right? And I guess the point I want to make is once you do that, now it's no longer about corn. It is about the cash in your margin account. Okay, so once you've put that cash in, as I say, it's not about corn anymore. It's about your cash position in that margin account. And let's talk about how that works. All right, so each side is putting the cash in the margin account. And then this is marked to market every day. So as that price goes up and down, right, your margin account is changed accordingly to reflect where your position is. So for example, on the day they enter into this contract, they enter in the futures price on that contract is $5. The next day, okay, the futures price that on that contract goes down to $4.90. So you have to say, okay, who benefits from the price moving in that direction? The price went down. Well, obviously, if you're agreeing to sell at $5 and the price is moving down, well, then you benefit from that position. So the farmer would be happy about that. He say, oh, the price is going down. It's a good thing I took out that futures contract. I can sell at 5. Obviously, the buyer feels just the opposite. The price is going down. They say, I wish I hadn't entered into that contract. All right. So after the first day, the price has moved down. What is the financial impact of that? Well, 10 cents a bushel times 10,000 bushels, that's going to be $1,000 per contract. Okay? They're just each short one contract. So you can think of it as the farmer has gained $1,000 and Frito-Lay has lost $1,000 because of the way that price moved. Okay? And then literally what they do, okay, is they will take $1,000 out of this account and move it to this account. Right? So the farmer has gained $1,000, Frito-Lay has lost $1,000. So your margin account reflects where that price is going relative to the price you agreed to at the beginning. And this is done every day. So, from now until November 15th, when that contract expires, as the price goes up and down, they go in and mark your margin account to show where you are relative to where that price is now, right? And this is a great way to eliminate the counterparty risk because, I've got your money in the margin account and I adjust you every day. So you can't say, oh no, I'm not going to do this and walk away because you're doing it every day. The money is going either in your account or out of your account depending on how you stand up relative to the price you agreed upon in the first place. Okay. All right. And now I have an example here. If at the end the spot price is $5.30 a barrel. Now, for these contracts, what matters is the price on the futures contract. Okay, but I'm assuming that on the expiration day, the price on the futures contract and the price on that you could sell corn for that day is going to be the same. Right? It would be very unusual if it wasn't. So we tend to assume that the price on these futures contracts is going to converge to the spot price on the day of expiration. All right? So on the day of expiration, the price is $5.30. And I'm asking here, who is unhappy and who's happy? Well, the price went up. Okay, the price ended up higher than the price on the futures contract. So you have to look at this. The farmer would be unhappy. The farmer would say, oh, I locked in a price of $5 and the price actually went up. And so they lost money on the deal. The Frito-Lay person would say, oh, that's good. You know, we locked in a price of $5 and the price went up, so we can actually buy it cheaper. Okay. All right. And now I want to point out that what happens with the way these futures contracts are set up now is the farmer would go ahead and sell his corn in the spot market. Right? And then he would balance that out with the cash net from his futures account. Okay, the futures account is settled in cash. You know, you either got more money in your margin account than you did before, or you have less. Okay, so you either made a profit on it or not. Right? And the net of those two positions is going to net out to be exactly the price he agreed upon at the very beginning in the futures contract. Okay? So in this example, if the spot price is $5.30, well, then he can sell it and get $53,000. However, when he goes to his futures account, okay, he's going to have lost $3,000 in the futures account because the price went up, okay, on 30 cents. Okay, and the net effect of that is he's going to net out at $50,000. Okay, notice that is exactly the same as selling 10,000 bushels of corn at the original futures price that he put in there. Okay. And the same thing happens with the seller, right? They will go out and purchase corn on the spot market. They're going to have to spend $53,000 since the price went up, and they'll say, paying more for this than I should have. However, when they go to their futures account, they'll have $3,000 more in that futures account than they did at the start, so they made a net of $3,000 on their futures account. So their net cost to purchase the corn is $50,000, which again is what they agreed on when they locked in that futures position. Okay. All right, so I hope you can see how that works. What the exchanges sit in the middle and they settle everything in cash, and that really eliminates the counterparty risk. And in fact, these two, once you are working with these contracts on the exchange, you don't know who's on the other side. It doesn't matter, right? Your margin account is going to go up or down to reflect your position relative to the contract you entered into, contract price you entered into, and at the end, you're going to net out as if you had executed the entire transaction at that price. Okay, yeah, so you can see here that for it is as if this transaction had occurred between these two parties for $50,000. But like I say, they would not know who was on the other side. All they know is they took out a contract at the exchange, and the farmer ended up losing $3,000 on the contract, and the supplier, the purchaser, ended up gaining $3,000 on the contract, and that net out their position so that their net expense for the corn or their net proceeds from the corn corresponded to the futures price that they entered into at the beginning. Okay, let's see here. I want to mention one other thing here. It is best, I think, to think about this way, and most of these are settled in cash. Most of these, you end up taking the cash out of your margin account, and that's your net profit or loss from this thing. I will say this, though, that at a technical point, these futures contracts, there is a provision that you can actually deliver the commodity if you want to. Okay, so in the futures contract, it will say, this is for corn delivered on November 15th to this place at this time, and it has to be a certain quality grade corn. They're very specific about exactly how much or what quality the corn has to be and where you take it and when and all that stuff. And when I first started teaching this class, I used to say, of course, that never happens. And I've had some people who work in these markets correct me and say, yeah, sometimes that does happen. Sometimes people will choose to deliver this product instead of just settling this in cash in their margin accounts. They'll deliver the product. But that is an unusual occurrence, and that's only for really big players that, I can imagine the really big agricultural giants that maybe do this a lot, and they are able to have a lot of the material of that quality and know where to get it and can ship it there and all that kind of stuff, then maybe they do that. But for the average investor dealing with these futures contracts, you would never want to do that. All right, you're just going to let the thing settle in cash, and it's going to work exactly the way that I've put it here. Okay, and as a finance student doing these problems, that's the way you should think about it. The futures position is going to settle in cash, and it'll balance my spot position so that my net will turn out to be exactly the position I had at the beginning. Okay, so so that's an introduction there to the futures contracts, just how they work, what they're all about. So I wanted to go through that. So I'll stop there.